At this point in our homework assignment, we should have downloaded 3 different Excel files. One that includes this piece of information here, the number of total juvenile steelhead that were marked in 2008 to 2010. A second Excel file that includes those pit-tagged fish that were then observed at 3 different dams in the Columbia. And our last spreadsheet should include returning adults at Lower Granite, McNary, and Bonneville. What we're going to show in this video is how to extract this data as counts from those Excel spreadsheets. So to sort of match this information, we would want to basically populate a spreadsheet that looks something like this. For each of the years of interest, how many fish were marked, and then just how many of those marked fish showed up at Lower Granite, McNary, and Bonneville as juveniles, and then back in the reverse order at Bonneville, McNary, and Lower Granite as adults. So we're going to work to populate this spreadsheet from the raw data that we extracted from Patagus. First, let's take our marked fish information. This is exactly how Patagus gave it to us, and let's make it look a little bit more like our typical data sheet in Excel. We can go up to View, and we can add grid lines so we can see additional spaces, additional cells. We can, to make our row heights a little smaller, I'm going to go to Home and format my row height. 17 to 20 is usually a good size, so we'll just shrink these down to 20. And you can go ahead and play around with making this look however you want it to look. Now what we want is we want the number of fish in each one of these years. Again, we could have pulled this out of Patagus, but our goal here is to learn how to use Excel, to be more proficient at using Excel. First, what I want to do is be able to scroll up and down through this 9,020 row data sheet, but still be able to keep track of what my column titles are. And so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and go up to View tab. I'm going to freeze these top panes. So freeze the top row. And now I can scroll around in my data sheet and maintain those column names. What I want to pull out of this information is how many fish were marked in each of these years. As you can see, there's various years in this data set. So first, let's go ahead and convert all of these. Remember from the last lab that we were getting this warning, this number is stored as text. We want to convert it to a number. So we're going to go ahead and do that for the entire column. To select and change this whole row, I can click on the whole column. I can click on that first cell, and I can hold down Control Shift and then hit the down arrow to select all rows in which there is data. And then I can just convert all those to numbers. It's going to simplify our next step a little bit. Okay, that took a few seconds. So as you'll find as you get to know Excel better, there are multiple ways to do any single task. What we could do here is we could sort all of our data on this particular column, and then we could just count how many rows are in the 2008, 2009, 2010. We're going to do this a little bit quicker way. I'm going to show you a function in Excel called COUNTIF. So remember, if you push an equal sign to make a formula and you start typing, your options that begin with those first letters are going to pop up. And what we're going to use for this is this COUNTIF function. Now Excel is pretty kind to us in that once we choose a function, it will actually describe the values that need to go into that function. So here it's saying apply the COUNTIF function across a range of cells, and then tell it what criteria you want it to count on. That's what the COUNTIF function does. So in this case, our range, we want to go from this cell up to the top of our spreadsheet, and we don't actually want that top cell. So now we've selected every value in this entire column of 90, 20 values. And now we need to give it a criteria. So what we want to do is first have it count the number of observations that meet the criteria 2008. So once I write my function out, I close it with a parenthesis, and I just hit enter, and it will very quickly count the number of observations that met that criteria. I'm going to label what I did here. Let's do that again for 2009 and 2010. I could do the exact same thing. I could come up here and I could also write. A range is specified in Excel with a colon. So I'm saying go from this bottom cell to the top, F2, and count 2009s. There are more fish were tagged in 2009 than 2008. The other thing I can do is I can copy this formula in the formula bar, paste it, and then just come up here and change this to 2010. Super. So that looks like it worked well, but to check it, I always want to make sure that I have the same, that I'm getting the same number as I started with in Patagus. So let's just sum up these three numbers and make sure they come out to 90/20 and we don't have some rogue data in there. Great. So now we have enough information to answer our first question, or the first piece of our lab handout. So what we want is the number marked in 2008 to 2010. And to copy these into my other Excel spreadsheet, I can just right click there, go to copy. I want to paste them into this sheet, but now see that these numbers are in column format and I want them to go into a row format. To paste in a transposed fashion, I can click on the cell in which I want to paste, right click, and then come down to this transpose option. But I need to do two things here. I need to first, because this over here is a formula, I need to paste them as values rather than as a formula. Now I can copy them again and repaste. Oh, it doesn't like that. I could do this. There we go. Okay, so that basically takes care of this first thing in our to-do list for homework. Next, we want to figure out how many of those fish showed up that were tagged in each of those years showed up at these three locations. So next we need to count by year and location.